So there's this fond memory I have from back in the day when we were hunting Fatalis. There was me and 3 other hunters, and Fatalis goes in for his cone breath attack. And I position myself to hit the head because cone breath is the biggest head opening for Fatalis. And I'm sitting there smacking the head, and all of a sudden, in from behind comes this rogue hammer user, smacks me right in my ass with an upswing, and yeets me right into Fatalis's cone breath. Now, an interesting thing is that some people in the Monster Hunter community would call that griefing, whereas I would call that was just some funny crap that happened and it was friggin' hilarious and everybody was just having a good time. I don't think I actually died from that. I think I either rolled away from it or I might have died. I genuinely don't remember what happened there. But it was just something that happened organically, and this is not something that is new in Monster Hunter. There's always been some degree of friendly fire, whether that is longsword flinching, hammer users yeeting people into oblivion, the charge blade also throwing people up into the air. I have a couple of more examples of stuff that happened with my friends here. So like, there were situations where I yeeted Wada when we were playing Generations Ultimate by hitting him with the 3rd attack of the shield bash, because for those who don't know, in Generations Ultimate, the 3rd shield bash of the sword and shield actually sends people flying. There was also situations where I hit him with level 3 round slash, which also sends people flying. Then there's also been situations where Wada yeets me while he's doing his Savage Slash rotation, because it includes an upswing, because you do the Savage Slash upswing to then go and, you know, do the double A attacks, because those are the ones, I mean, I say A, depending on your controller, it might be circle, whatever. You guys know the one that I'm talking about, because those attacks are preferable. We've also had some really fun situations where I'd be playing with Gun Lance and, you know, I'd put up my block, and then comes Kegrin and at the same time does a blade dance, and he's doing like a drum solo on my shoulder, like dum 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 dum, and it's just, those are things that I find fun. And then there's also been situations where I've accidentally Wyvernfired somebody, or intentionally Wyvernfired somebody. The point of the matter is, these interactions are what is considered by the community as friendly fire. And this is something that for a lot of people, they just really don't like it, which I find interesting because I've always found the more inconvenient aspects of Monster Hunter to be endearing and basically a core part of the franchise. As a matter of fact, you could also argue that to some extent, friendly fire can become an expression of skill. So for instance, me standing right next to my friend Wada and being able to do a Wyvern Fire without necessarily hitting him, you could argue that that is an expression of skill, and that is something that has always been a part of the game. You know, positioning has always been something that has been extremely important for Monster Hunter, where you position yourself in order to be able to land your attacks. Now, at the entrance of focus mode as a mechanic, position is not as important. It is still important, but you can correct a lot of your positioning mistakes, so to speak. But one of the things that I became aware of yesterday was something that I did not like to see. And so I wanted to provide some feedback on that particular topic. And this was in a Famitsu interview. Now, I have here the Google translation of that Famitsu interview, but I've also spoken with Gaijin Hunter earlier today to make sure that the translation is somewhat accurate. And even though there's some inaccuracies in what I'm about to say here, the overall sentiment is correct. So this is a Famitsu interview, and the interviewer says, I have one more question about the weapon adjustments. Up until now, slash attacks, and slash attacks here is more so referring to uppercut type moves, so like hammer upswing, switch axe upswing, hell, even greatsword upswing. You guys know the ones that I'm talking about. That Gaijin was telling me that that is the intention of slash attack here. And also, Gun Lance dragon shots have been designed to blow away allies. Now, it's not really designed, but it is, you know, they are moves that will blow your allies away. But in Wilds, this has been significantly reduced. Why did you decide to make this change? And the person answering here is Takuda-san. He says, as for friendly fire, it was originally included for the sake of realism, and I wanted players to play while taking into account the fact that it can be both a positive and a negative thing. However, when you actually play, there are too many situations where you can't do what you want. Such as there will be a wound in a certain part and you want to attack it, but you end up getting in the way of other hunters. So you stop. In recent years, the tempo of the series has accelerated, and I thought it would be bad if there were places where friendly fire made players shrink back, even though we are encouraging multiplayer. Even in the open beta test, there are some things that remain, such as hammer lift and some other blows, but we will remove those in the final version, and we will also have the shock gem, and here they're referring to the shockproof gem, implemented in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Suffice it to say, I was not particularly happy to hear that. Friendly fire has always been one of those things that I consider to be somewhat important in co-op games, and the reasoning behind that is because you should be able to position yourself tactically in a way to either avoid hitting your teammates or avoid getting hit by your teammates. Now, I understand the argument that a lot of people are going to bring up, which is like, well, I'm jumping into open lobbies and people are just all over the place. This is just one big mess. And my question is, do you think that removing the effect of friendly fire is going to make it better, or do you think that it is actually going to make it worse? Because if it is a mess right now with friendly fire engaged, once you completely turn off every little piece of attrition that can potentially happen in a hunt, do you think that people are going to be more considerate about, letting somebody else pick up a wound because maybe one of their mechanics requires it, like say the charge blade? You actually should let charge blade get wounds. You most definitely should let insect glaives get wounds, because insect glaives will get all 3 extracts from hitting wounds, and charge blade are going to get their savage axe from hitting wounds. So there definitely needs to be some sort of like hunting etiquette wherein you allow other hunters to get wounds. Like for instance, me going after a wound as a gun lance player is not necessarily the best use of that wound if I happen to pop it with Drake Augur. Sure, I'm going to do a little bit of damage, but I don't really get that much more benefit for it. And if you keep just removing some of these things that add friction into the game, in my opinion, you're essentially breathing worse hunters into the game, because what ends up happening is people don't really take into consideration, oh, maybe as a hammer user I should hit the head because that's going to do KOs. It's like, it doesn't matter because maybe there's a better hit zone in the leg. Maybe for whatever reason in this specific monster, this monster takes more blunt damage in his legs. And so instead of going for the head to get at least a couple of KOs and actually help your team, you'd be like, nope, I want maximum damage, I'm hitting those legs. It's like, but KOs, doesn't matter. Same thing for like tail chopping and stuff like that. And I understand the argument that a lot of players have where it's like, I want to play optimally. But I don't know, there's just always been something about friendly fire. And like I said, to a degree, I consider it to be an expression of skill. The fact that you can position yourself either as a longsword user in a way that you can avoid flinching, or at least minimizing the amount of flinching that you're going to be doing to your teammates. As a gun lance user, being able to use your Wyvernfire without necessarily blasting your whole team into oblivion, unless you're doing it on purpose with friends. And like that, you can argue about several other weapons. And it's just very saddening to me that developers just look at that and they go like, actually, we don't think we need this anymore. And I want to make one thing perfectly clear. I'm going to play Monster Hunter no matter what. If they remove friendly fire, oh well, freaking sucks. But I'm still going to be playing it. I'm still super hyped about the game. This is my favorite series. I just don't like to see a lot of its essence being taken away in the name of convenience. Another thing that we've seen recently has been that the sharpening has been greatly reduced. The commitment that you have to put into sharpening has been brutally reduced. This is one of the reasons why I've said I don't even care that you can sharpen on Sacred anymore, because sharpening is just so easy. Like, you can sharpen at any minimal opening that you get from monsters. Say monster just runs past you for a millisecond, you're gonna be like, yep, I'll sharpen. If the monster comes at you, cancel into a dodge, you'll still get at least the benefit of one swipe. Monster comes at you again, you're like, I'm sharpening, dodge, monster goes away, you sharpen one more. It's just, sharpening has been made almost redundant at this point. And I know that a lot of people are gonna disagree. It is what it is. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh man, sharpening should be harder. It's fine the way that it is, I can accept that, it is whatever, but you have to admit that there's a lot less commitment to sharpening. There are other things that bother me more, like the infinite restocking. I've spoken at length about that. It is whatever. The tracking aspects of it, which are going to be greatly reduced when it comes to Monster Hunter Wilds, because my current understanding is that you basically track the monsters the first time, and then after that, you're just going to know where they are, almost as if you have the Kahoot from Monster Hunter Rise. There's also been stuff in the past that was removed from Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak in the form of cold and hot drinks. Again, all of these things are being either removed or alleviated in the name of convenience. And last year, I did a video talking about convenience, and I'll admit, okay, that thumbnail is just clickbaity as all hell, all right? And probably today, I don't think I would do that thumbnail. But before that video, I did this poll where, no, actually after that video, I did this poll where I asked the community if they thought that too much convenience could actually be a detrimental aspect to Monster Hunter. And 60% of people, this received 3,000 votes, 3.4 thousand votes, and 60% of the people there said that too much convenience can be detrimental. 36% of people said that this level of convenience is fine, and we're talking about the level of convenience that we got in Rise and Sunbreak, which I would just like to remind you, if you were to make the Amatsu set, you fundamentally never have to sharpen ever again. Like, that's just a mechanic built into the Amatsu set of Sunbreak. And then 5% of people actually said that they want even more convenience. A while ago, I asked about hot and cold drinks, and I asked if people thought that hot and cold drinks should return. This is something that was answered by 63% of people saying that yes, hot and cold drinks should definitely return as a mechanic. Me personally, I think that hot and cold drinks greatly contribute to immersion, but I know that a lot of people disagree with that. It is what it is. And 37% of people said no. So, as with most of these convenience changes, yesterday I made two polls, one on Twitter and one on YouTube, where I asked the community how they feel about friendly fire. And my perception going into these polls was that the community as a majority actually didn't like friendly fire, because that was the impression that I was getting from my comment section. And I was positively surprised to hear that that was not the case. So on Twitter, we got 1,950 votes, so 1,950 votes up until the recording of this video. And 74% of people said that no, you should keep friendly fire. And 25% of people are in favor of completely removing any instance of friendly fire, whether that is, the flinching of a longsword, throwing people with a hammer, throwing people with switch axe or charge blade or whatever. Just get rid of all of it so that they can all just pile up on the head and just completely mob the monster to death. And then I made the same poll on YouTube, because usually I get more interaction on YouTube, let's put it like that. And out of 7,400 people, 72% of them also voted to keep friendly fire. Now, I've actually alternated the position of the yes and no in these polls, because some people say that there's like, there's a bias that a lot of people will vote for the first option in a poll. So I wanted to, get as fair of a shake as possible. And it was just interesting to see, because again, I expected most people to vote for the removal of friendly fire. And the fact that you guys didn't was a very welcome surprise. Now, regardless of all of that, it is clear that the developer intent currently is to remove friendly fire as a mechanic. So if that is the way that they want to go, I'm not going to be arrogant to the point to say that, oh, I know better. I believe that it is a bad thing to remove friendly fire, but I'm not the one developing the game. So therefore, what I say only goes so far. But one of the things that I would argue is that there is definitely a significant amount of people that appreciate friendly fire. So if anything, I wish there would at least be an option for us to have friendly fire on in the traditional way that we've always had in Monster Hunter, so that if I Wyvernfire somebody, they get thrown. If somebody hits me with a hammer upswing, I get thrown. Because I don't think that it is a big setting to develop for, considering that these things are even implemented in the beta. So you could probably just have like a toggle that just goes like, okay, completely ignore all player interactions, or not. And I hope that the team would at least consider having a setting for some of us, because obviously the polls that I did yesterday show that there's a significant amount of us that do prefer having that setting. And I would really appreciate that that setting would be there in the final version of the game. But we'll see. Regardless of that, still super hyped for Months on Wilds. Let me know what you guys think about this friendly fire situation in the comments section down below. And while you're down there, if you enjoyed my videos, hit the like button, subscribe, bell notification icon, all that jazz. And I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.